Our movie starts in a quiet town called Back Lake. We meet a young guy, Benny, who works at the local grocery store, Hastings Market. He's outside wrangling shopping carts when he heads back in and asks his boss, Tarky, for some hand sanitizer. Tarky tells him to go to the checkout, where he finds a woman, Lisa, buying groceries for her stepdad, a cop named Steve. Everything seems normal until a van pulls up outside. A group of people get out, one filming, and they get ready to storm the market. A guy from the group locks the doors just as the manager announces they're closed. Inside, Benny is in an aisle and runs into another cop named Hudson, who asks for directions to an item. Benny helps him out. Benny keeps walking and finds a coworker dead. Suddenly, two armed people confront him. The woman orders Benny to the ground while the other man holds another coworker hostage. The guy with the camera notices Tarky trying to call the police and stops him.
Don't fucking move! Don't fucking move!
It's clear they aren't there to rob the place. One of the guys, Spooky, starts checking out customers as if he's looking for something. The leader, Ritter, orders everyone split up into different aisles, all under surveillance. Spooky finds what they're looking for when he examines a woman. She tries to escape, and he alerts the others, who immediately kill her. The guy watching Hudson gets distracted for a second, and Hudson takes him out. Hudson calls for backup, but the kidnappers can't get a hold of their guy. Ritter and Kane go to find him, and a gunfight breaks out. Hudson retreats and hides in the aisles. He runs into Spooky and shoots him without a second thought. Ritter and Kane hear the shot and find their dead guy. Ritter shows up and tells Hudson to stop, but he keeps walking, and Kane sneaks up and takes him out. Kane finds Hudson's phone and sees that he managed to call for backup. He quickly tells the others. Ritter tries to save Spooky, but he dies. Kane and Logan show up with the hostages, and Kane says they need to leave, but Ritter insists they stay. He wants to find what they're looking for and asks for more time, and Kane agrees. Ritter tells a woman named Sterling that the cops are on their way and asks if she's still in on the plan. She confirms, and he says that before Spooky died, he said their target was here. Kane takes the hostages away, while Ritter uses Spooky's blood to write "Stay away" on the front door as a warning. The police show up, and some of the already examined hostages are released. Ritter tells Kane to keep a hold of the unexamined ones. We see Sterling examining the body of the woman Spooky pointed out. She says the sample is in its 8th year of gestation. Ritter joins them and says the cops are busy with the released hostages and that they need to move to Plan B. Outside, Officer Steve shows up, saying his stepdaughter's inside and that they have to act fast. Inside, the group is divided about continuing the mission. Kane asks how they'll find their target without a new finder.
We bring in a new spotter.
Sterling reminds them the cops won't let anyone in. Ritter suggests using a woman named Charlotte for the job, but Kane laughs, reminding him what happened to another guy, Scott. The group decides to run some tests on the hostages while they wait for Charlotte. Sterling says it's too risky, but Ritter says Spooky told him it was safe. Sterling says there are young people in the group, but Ritter says the thing they're after can't get out. Sterling agrees and tells them to get the necessary gear. Logan offers to get it, since Kane isn't into the idea. Ritter tells Sterling to check the dead bodies because some might be infected. He also tells Logan to film everything and for Kane to shut off the lights. All the lights go out. Steve sees this and tells his men to turn on their flashlights so the guys inside can't see them. Logan moves Spooky's body to the cooler with the other bodies. As he leaves, the dead cop's body starts to convulse and the lights flicker. They begin the first test by making the hostages drink a liter of milk. One woman can't, and Kane gets frustrated, yelling at her to hurry up. He threatens to make Tarky the first one to take the test. After Kane leaves the room, Lisa says they left the dead cop's gun in the cooler and that they could use it to get out. One of the guys calls her crazy, but she explains that her stepdad is a police negotiator and she's heard tons of reports about situations like this. She says the kidnappers haven't even tried to negotiate. Outside, Steve and Officer Cooper check out the van. They open the back and find a bunch of high-caliber ammo, organized weapons, and a bunch of tapes with an unknown man's face on them. This proves the group is more than just kidnappers. They're involved in something bigger and more planned out. Cooper says the van is registered to a 43-year-old widower named Erin Ritter, who has a clean record and worked for JPL for years. Steve asks what JPL is, and Cooper says it's the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, an advanced space exploration research unit. This makes Steve suspicious of the group's motives. He tells them to find another way to communicate and negotiate with Ritter before things get worse. Inside, Ritter decides to formally introduce his team to the hostages. Sterling is a doctor who specializes in biology. Logan is in charge of records and equipment. Kane's role isn't specified, but he looks like the guy who gets the difficult stuff done. One of the older hostages begs them to release the younger ones, but Ritter refuses, saying everyone is at risk. He then explains they're looking for a carrier of a dangerous substance.
Trace the origin of that substance to Buck Lake.
Ritter says the only person who could identify the infected was Spooky, who was killed in the confrontation. Now they'll have to use a more dangerous method. Tarky will be the first one tested. Ritter explains that the milk they drank will change their body's internal acidity, which will cause a noticeable reaction in those who are infected. He says those who don't show any signs will be released.
What if we have been infected?
Then you're dead already.
They take Tarky to a separate room while Kane watches the rest. Logan films the whole process. Sterling comes in and says she checked all the bodies in the cooler and found that all of them were fertilized females, which confirms the biological threat. Ritter talks to Tarky and asks if he's married. Tarky says he's divorced. Ritter then tells him to look at his fingers for a red line, a sign of infection, but Tarky says he doesn't see anything. The group starts playing mind games with Tarky to distract him, while Sterling gets ready to cut off his finger as part of the physical test. Tarky freaks out when he sees the knife and backs up against the wall. The other hostages can hear the commotion. Tarky desperately offers the money he stole from the safe, but they ignore him and insist on continuing the tests. Meanwhile, the hostages plan their escape. The older man says he'll go get the gun from the cooler, but another guy, Manny, pulls a knife and says he'll go instead. The older man convinces him he's more experienced with weapons, and the 4 hostages agree to the change.
You come in firing. We'll tackle him from behind.
Suddenly, a phone rings. Ritter answers, and it's Steve. Steve identifies himself as a police negotiator and asks what they want.
If I told you, you wouldn't believe me.
Steve pushes him, saying he's seen a lot in his career, but Ritter refuses to cooperate, saying he's too busy. Steve tries to get personal, but Ritter stays cold. Steve then asks if Ritter's daughter would be proud of what he's doing, which seems to affect him for a second, but he quickly regains his composure. Steve changes the subject and asks if anyone inside is hurt to get information. Ritter ignores the question and says Charlotte is being held at a local police station. Steve asks about the hostages, and Ritter raises his voice, saying the longer they wait, the more dangerous things will get. Inside, they grab Tarky, and Sterling cuts off his finger. The severed finger is put in an ice jar, and Sterling confirms after a couple of minutes that there was no reaction. Logan says he was so sure Tarky was the one. Outside, the police watch some videos left by Dr. Sterling. She explains how the creatures work and how they can be destroyed. She reveals that freezing them is the best way to keep them from reproducing, and even shows x-rays of an advanced one. Steve and Cooper watch intently, and one of them asks if she said they came from a meteorite. Cooper says Charlotte is on her way and will be there in 20 minutes. He then shows Steve her criminal record, which has a few minor offenses. Cooper also shows him Aaron Ritter's file. He reveals that Ritter was fired from JPL after being charged with murder. Cooper adds that all the other people linked to Ritter were fired at the same time and that they've gotten together oddly, like a club. They bought a bunch of weapons and disappeared for months. Back inside, Benny warns the older man not to let the cooler door close all the way, because it can only be opened from the outside. The kidnappers bring Tarky back, and he tells everyone they cut off his finger, shocking them. Kane then picks Lisa for the next test, but she freaks out and says her dad is Detective Steve. Ritter asks if Steve is her dad, and she says he's her stepdad. Even so, Ritter tells Kane to continue the plan. Before Kane can take Lisa, Benny offers to go in her place, and the group agrees. At the same time, Charlotte is on her way in a police car. She seems drunk and asks for her sunglasses. She tells the cop she messed everything up. He asks what she messed up, and she says she was supposed to help Ritter, but chose to keep doing drugs and left him. She asks the cop to take off her handcuffs, but he says they're close to the market. She then manages to break the handcuffs with surprising strength. Back at the market, the group starts the same process with Benny. Scared, he asks if there's a correct answer that could stop them from cutting off his finger. He then asks why Benny volunteered to go instead of the girl. Ritter apologizes and cuts off the boy's finger. The police are checking some tapes of people running and hiding in a basement. Inside, Kane praises Benny's bravery. They hear a woman scream, and Sterling confirms she's not the target. She thinks they won't need Charlotte because she always shows up when someone dies. Ritter says she's just a junkie, but will be essential to capturing the creature. The two argue, but Logan interrupts them when he sees the woman's finger starting to regrow. She screams and attacks the group with superhuman strength, but Ritter kills her. Kane tries to contact the group but gets no response, so he goes to check on them. The hostages use this distraction to get the dead cop's gun. The older man goes to the cooler and gets the gun, but before he can get back to the group, he's attacked and killed. The gunshot spooks everyone. Ritter tells Steve that Lisa is still alive, but threatens that another person will die if Charlotte isn't handed over.
Give me 10 minutes, okay?
Logan says that the Sentinel was about to infect Sterling and that the creature was different. They notice the older man is gone, and Benny admits that he went to the cooler. Kane and Logan go to check it out and find his remains. The dead cop's body gets up, and they get in a gunfight with him. Outside, Charlotte arrives and surrenders the handcuffs, surprising everyone with her strength. She tells Steve that the aliens infect people like a virus, making them violent and strong hosts. Ritter finds an infected Kane, who says the virus is in the cop. He thinks he's the king and asks Ritter to kill him, and Ritter does. Back at the market, Ritter tells Sterling the cop was the king. He says he's going to hunt the monster and tells her to watch the hostages. Steve discovers that Charlotte is infected and can now see the aliens. Ritter finds Logan's body and kills him, which gets the monster's attention. The hostages attack Sterling and take her gun. Manny celebrates, but the creature throws him away. Ritter tries to shoot but fails, and the creature eats Manny. Steve tries to get in, but Charlotte stops him. Ritter explains to Benny that if they want to survive, they have to trust them. Sterling shows them she also took the test.
That's all I'm asking. 10 minutes.
And Steve demands Lisa's release. Ritter suggests a swap, Charlotte for Lisa. Charlotte quickly checks Steve and confirms he's clean. Ritter explains the plan, but he hears noises and hangs up. Steve tells the cops to get ready to go in. Lisa still doesn't trust them, but Benny reminds her that she saw the creature, and they decide to help. The group searches the market and finds a locked door. They find Manny's body in a dark aisle. Ritter warns them that they'll have to go through the main entrance. Suddenly, Sterling and Tarky see a shadow. Tarky thinks they're trapped, but Ritter says the creature just wants to kill. Steve sees the flashlights and is surprised at how slow they're moving. The group walks after them and they hear a roar. Tarky drops the jar with his finger in it, and when he tries to get it, he's brutally killed. Ritter sends everyone to the manager's office. He then opens the entrance door and finds Steve, who demands to know where Lisa is. Ritter lies and says she's dead, but then admits she's alive and suggests a temporary alliance.
It's powerful. Very powerful.
Sterling says she shot the creature 6 times. The creature shows up again, but runs away when it gets shot at a bunch. Lisa and Benny come up with a plan. He'll distract the creature, but she refuses to leave him. Steve insists on getting Lisa, and Ritter tells him where the office is and to leave him to finish the job. Steve finds the kids, and they all hug. Charlotte uses her powers to lure the king. As Steve and the kids leave, the police storm the place. The creature charges and violently attacks Ritter. Sterling grabs her gun, and Steve fires to get its attention. Ritter takes the opportunity to stab the creature and separate it from its host. He asks for help, and all the cops fire, killing the monster, but they also shoot Ritter. Since he's infected, he quickly asks them to kill him, and Sterling grants his last wish. A few minutes later, Steve promises Sterling she'll be free if everything checks out. Charlotte warns on the radio that the creature wasn't the king. Sterling thinks it must be one of the kids. We then see Benny and Lisa sitting in a cop car. When Benny calls her name, he notices she's acting strange. He tries to open the door but finds it's locked. He points the gun at her, and she says,
I always loved you, Benny.
and that's the end of the movie. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.